Strong set of numbers coming in for the first quarter, clearly beating all analyst and street expectations, and a lot of that on the back of its motorcycle business. I'm talking about Eicher Motors, which has had a stellar first quarter. And talking about that and a lot more in terms of what we can expect going through the rest of the fiscal, we have the MD and CEO of Eicher Motors, Mr. Siddhartha Lal, joining us from the brand new expanded facility of its manufacturing in Chennai. Sid, it's good to have you with us here on NDTV. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's. I wish you could be here as well. It's a, we're out at Order Garden Phase 2. So we've just got this plant up and running. The second phase of a new plant that we set up in 2013. I was just told that out of this part of the plant alone, we're doing around 900 units a day. So yeah, it's nice to be out here and hope to see you soon.
All right, let me quickly go back to those first quarter numbers that I was talking about at the start there. Said we have seen, of course, the numbers definitely beating all kinds of street expectations, and it's a sort of a mixed picture there, both positive pictures. The motorcycle business, of course, outperforming everybody's expectations, but even the truck side doing well. Clearly something that you had not expected.
Yeah, we've had a wonderful quarter. We've had great top line growth. I'm talking about the Royal Enfield business. We've been able to really expand our margins. The first time we've crossed 30% EBITDA margin, so that's a real big one for us as well on the financial front. But of course, all this has come on the back of the strong franchise that we've created over the last many years for the Royal Enfield range of motorcycles, and we're able to spread that now in smaller markets, smaller towns. So even though the motorcycle industry isn't growing very quickly as we speak, we're able to get penetration into newer markets, and we're also increasing our same store sales in big cities. So yeah, all around we continue to get the growth, which is continuing to drive our top line, which is continuing to drive operating margin.
Now, right at the end there, you mentioned margins. So are we talking about just the motorcycle business, or is this a picture for the overall EBITDA for the combined businesses?
Yeah, so we've just moved. This is the first quarter that we moved to the Indian accounting standard, or the Ind AS system. So the numbers that you're seeing in front of you, the 1,550 odd crores of top line and the 470 crores of EBITDA, all of that relates to Royal Enfield business. The effect of truck business on our accounts only comes at the bottommost line after PAT, which is share of joint ventures in profit and loss. So that's where that comes. But in any case, as addition to that, we've given memorandum information about VCV, which is our joint venture with Volvo. We've given the financials of that. We've also crossed 2,000 crores. I believe it was 2,100 plus crores of top line, and we have a 9.1% EBITDA at the VCV level. But that's not part of what I discussed before, which is only to do with Royal Enfield.
All right, I'll talk about the truck business in just a bit, Sid, but the big story really is the Royal Enfield contribution to these numbers. I mean, it's obviously heartening for you personally as well to see it all come together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, we've been working towards all of this, and we can see that, now that the franchise has got a life of its own, so it continues to sell. Of course, we're doing a tremendous amount of things to keep it moving forward. But while the business and the India business is growing at a very rapid pace, and we're able to get into newer and newer markets across the country, over the last 2 years, we're now building the foundation for a new organization, which is really very different from what the current organization is. Of course, it leans off the current organization, but we've been building a tremendous team of people across our commercial organization, across our product development organization. For example, we have 70 people in our new UK tech center. These are all extremely accomplished engineers. We've grown that from scratch. We're going to have a new technical center up and running by the end of this year. We've been expanding all parts of our business and our teams so that we can actually take Royal Enfield to the next level. So the trajectory of growth that we're now on, obviously we're continuing to push that further and further up, but we're now taking we're working on what will be the big next. And that means in terms of markets, it means in terms of products, it means in terms of experiential, let's say, experience at our showrooms and experience of riding. So we're developing a lot of new rides and activities for our customers who like to go out. So a lot of fun things happening for sure at Royal Enfield.
That's always good to know. But I guess that also, by the way, your answer partly answers what Anand was asking about what you're doing in the UK. So lots happening there. But the point you mentioned right at the end there about getting into new market areas as well and expanding the brand even here in India. Are there specific geographic pockets that you're looking at where, you know, Royal Enfield may not currently have much of a footing, but where you see a lot of potential?
Absolutely. So there are many different cuts from the Indian market perspective. So the last, let's say, decade, our focus was on big cities. So we were going systematically first in the top 7 metros and then further down in order to establish our distribution, establish our presence, our aftermarket and salience in these markets. So that's the job that we were at over the last decade. And then we suddenly found traction in smaller towns. So because when a Bombay grows, then the rest of Maharashtra grows. When Chennai grows, rest of Tamil Nadu wants our motorcycles. So as a result, we've been able to go deeper. So right now, where the big traction is coming from is from small towns. We're adding 2 to 3 dealers every single week in small towns these days in India. So that's a big potential. Then while we've grown, let's say again in the affluent parts of the country, so the northern belt and the western and southern belt, the entire middle belt and eastern belt is relatively untapped market for us. So we're activating those markets a lot, and they're very enthusiastic about Royal Enfield because they've traditionally loved our brand. It's just that the consumers are now coming up to age to appreciate our product and to be able to spend as much to buy a Royal Enfield. So yeah, it's across the board, and in all of that, there's a demographic shift which is happening. We're getting more first-time users buying into our Bullet and Classic 350 franchise. So they're bypassing 100 and 150 cc's, a lot of kids, and they're coming straight to a Bullet or Classic 350. That's wonderful news for us as well.
What about that new bike, the Himalayan? It's getting so much attention as well. It's a very different kind of a product. How's the demand for that bike, and is that also seeing a significant contribution in these quarterly sales numbers?
Oh yeah, so for this quarter, it's still a blip. I mean, it's still a couple of thousand, maybe 2,000-3,000 sales. I don't have the exact number out of 50,000. So it's not, 50,000 is for the month. So for the quarter is of 150,000. So it's still a small number for, because it's in ramp up phase. In fact, it's only as of pretty much today that the Himalayan is actually available nationally. Till now it was available in a limited number of stores. So we're ramping up production. You can see behind me there's Himalayans. We've been producing them rapidly over the last few days, and the ones here are in fact only today's production. And all of these motorcycles are going to go in the market because we've got a whole fleet of test ride motorcycles. We've got showroom motorcycles. We've got motorcycles for sale. So all of that is starting now. So the ramp up in our production side, at our suppliers end, but more importantly in the front end at our dealers is now beginning, and we're able to deliver the right number of Himalayans to our consumers. It's all very encouraging. People are warming up to this very different new category of motorcycle in a way that we're delighted with.
It is very different, and so then let me ask you this, Sid, how many Himalayans do you look to sell every month going forward?
We don't have a number, Siddharth. Fortunately for us, the rest of our models will give us whatever numbers we need to fill up the capacities, right? So the Himalayan, we have adequate capacity. Of course, we're ramping up in our supplier end, in our engine end, in our assembly end. But we don't want to push the issue. It's a new model in a new segment, and which doesn't exist in India altogether. So we want to make sure that we sell right, we sell to the right people, that they appreciate what the Himalayan is all about, and organically we want that to grow. So if it, obviously we're already crossed 1,000 a month. If it goes to many thousands a month, we're delighted, and that's what we want. But we don't want to push the issue because we want to make sure that it happens in a way that is natural. We sell it to the person who's going to use the Himalayan in the way that it's envisaged. He's going to use it for some adventure and also use it in the city environment. So when we sell it to the right people and they use it for the right reasons, that's when they're going to appreciate it the most, and that's when we're going to have good word of mouth, and that's when we're going to build a franchise for the long term for the Himalayan.
It also doesn't hurt that it's also a nice high margin product for you, so I'm sure you'd like to sell more. The third plant that you're also looking at now, you announced that a while ago. So what, it's going to be on stream by the start of 2018, and overall what will your capacity look like then going forward long term?
No, next year actually, Siddharth, as we speak, in 13 months from now we should see the next plant up and running as well. So that will help us in getting to 900,000 or 9 lakhs by FY 18-19. So FY 19, that's year 18,000 in 2018-19. So it's not very far where we should be able to produce 9 lakh motorcycles now. And yeah, it's a far cry from, let's say, a decade before that where we were sub 50,000. But yeah, that's the fun of what we're doing. You know, when the business is growing on the front end, you know, we're able to certainly, eventually we'll be able to add the capacity to be able to meet it. So capacity is always the last issue really. It's always about creating the brand, creating the interest, creating the service network, the aftermarket, the sales network, and then eventually we'll up the capacity as well, which we're doing, of course.
We were just talking about that, in fact, about how significantly the business has grown for you in numbers terms. You also got plans for new engines, new platforms that are in the pipeline, new models, of course, and refurbishing of old ones. So that 9 lakh capacity that you mentioned, is that really going to be enough?
Well, we don't know, because we don't like to plan too far in advance. If push comes to shove, we're able to add a full new, let's say, phase. In our parlance now, we've sort of gotten around to one phase of manufacturing being in the order of, let's say, 30,000 a month or 360,000 a year. So we're able to add a new phase with a time lag of 18 months or so. So in Vadigal, which is our new plant, we're only commissioning phase 1. We will have the ability to commission phase 2 as and when we require, which will add another maybe 300,000 plus units to our production. We have not initiated that right now, but if push comes to shove, we will certainly initiate that, and that will of course make us cross into the 1 million plus mark, which is 1.2 million. But that's too far out. We don't want to worry about that. Right now we're just ramping up Oragadam phase 2 as we speak. We're commissioning Vadigal phase 1, so we're happy with that progress.
All right, 11 lakh capacity is not too far then, I suppose. The new platforms, the new engines, tell us a little bit more about that, also the kind of investments you'll make towards them.
So yeah, again, what you see behind us is our first new platform in forever, actually. So it's the Himalayan, and it's a purpose-built, adventure tourer. We're so excited about it, and we're excited about getting it out there more and more. The Himalayan summer has just begun. So we expect people to go much more in the course of July, August, September, well, nearly August, September, October, into the Himalayas. We do have other products in the pipeline. We've announced before that we'll have probably another product by the end of next year as well. But, that's for later. Right now we're focused on establishing the Himalayan as the most important motorcycle in India this year. So we're excited about that.
It's also a very different product, said from what Royal Enfield is known to be making in the past and the kind of image that the company has. And so, given the kind of acceptance you've seen for this product, is it safe to assume that you're not sort of entrapped by that image anymore, that your future products don't necessarily have to be like the Bullet or just a cruiser bike?
Yeah, sure. We think there's a core product and range of classic motorcycles that is always going to be at the very center of what Royal Enfield does. That I don't think will change, and it will only expand in range over time. But to add to that at different parts of the motorcycling world, we certainly want to expand. We want to do new stuff. We want to do fun stuff which isn't there. We don't want to do only the same old stuff. So that's what the Himalayan represents. We've been traveling the Himalayas for decades, our riders have been traveling the Himalayas. Our company, our employees and all of the people I work with are passionate about the Himalayas. So it was only natural that we were going to build a motorcycle which was purpose built for the Himalayas, and you know, we'll justify it later. That's our approach, and we've justified it. I think we've now built a business case around it. It will sell in numbers. We will make money off it. All of that will happen. But the more important thing really is that we want to do stuff which is fun and new and interesting, and it gets new people into the sport of motorcycling. It gets new people out in the beautiful Himalayas that we have. That's what we want to do, and that's, you know, the larger picture that we believe in.
You know, I have to ask you, Sid, do your dealers feel the same way? Do they sort of endorse this kind of view that you have as well, or do they just want to keep selling cruisers and bullets?
Sure, dealers are dealers more often than not, and in fact all the dealers we've been bringing into our family now are enthusiasts. Every new market that we're trying to get into, because our franchise is so strong and so profitable and our brand is so good, and at the retail level they all hear that Royal Enfield dealers make really good money. We have a list of 20, 30 prospects for any dealership any city that we want to get into. So we have the luxury of being able to choose somebody who has the wherewithal to put up the type of facility that we want, but he or she also has the interest in motorcycling and in Royal Enfield to be able to be, and somebody who's passionate about our brand to actually go out there, do the rides and all of that. So we have a network of very passionate dealers and associates and all of that. Now they love the Himalayan and they've been extremely excited about it. In any case, dealers like anything new, right? So even if they weren't so passionate, they would like it because dealers like to have something new. But they also like to sell what's easy. So they continue to sell the classic 350, which is a no-brainer for a lot of customers. But of course, we're training them to sell the Himalayan properly, to be able to give people the experience that they want on the Himalayan. So all of that is part of our entire ecosystem that we're building. But the dealers are extremely positive to spreading the word well and to selling the Himalayan well.
They're not the only ones who like having something new to talk about. I can tell you the auto press loves it when you have a new model as well. But let's switch gears now. Let's talk about the CV business as well. Again, the numbers there in the first quarter have done better than what was expected. In fact, I think your own outlook is something you've been able to beat as well, what you had said at the start of the year.
Yeah, we're doing well. Again, it's the product of all the effort that we've been putting in over the last many years, along with Volvo, to really take a long-term view on the market. A lot of that is panning out now. So as a result, what's happened is that, since we got into heavy duty and over the last decade, we've had one ambition internally, which is to get to a consistent 1,000 units of heavy duty trucks a month. We're there now. We're selling, last quarter we sold over 3,200 units. So when we get to 1,000 plus a month, it gets into a very virtuous cycle. There are more vehicles on the street, the resale price goes up, there's more visibility, dealers get more excited about it, customers see it more positively and start buying more. So we're in that virtuous cycle. Our market share from same quarter last year has increased from 3.9% to 6.1% in heavy duty. And we're not holding back on light and medium duty either. In the 5 to 15 ton market, we've grown from 32% to 34%, and that's in the space of 1 year. In the space of 8 years, we've grown by 10%, from 25% to now, under 25% to 34%. So our CV business is firing on all cylinders. Our EBITDA has also gone up to a very respectable 9.1% in commercial vehicles. So yeah, we've surpassed. We're growing in market share, we're growing in profitability, and we're happy with the performance there for sure.
Market share you mentioned, so specific target for market share then, Sid, maybe by this time next year?
Our general approach has been that we'd like to increase 1% a year. Of course we're delighted to increase more than that, but we think that with all the push and pull and all the, huge competitiveness in the segment, if you're able to pull off a percent a year in market share consistently, which is what we've done in light and medium duty now for 15 years, we've pulled it off. We are delighted to continue at that pace. It doesn't sound very dramatic, but really it is. It's dramatic. Over the course of a couple of decades, it starts becoming very dramatic to improve by 1% a year in market share.
Now, I totally hear you and agree with that. It is pretty significant, 1% every year. But you mentioned, of course, light and medium there. But let's look at the overall picture. Medium and even, of course, the heavy truck segment, that remains a worry then.
Medium and heavy market is up and down. I mean, this quarter it was down slightly from the previous quarter, but over the year it's gone up. But Eicher has of course grown much higher. So CV market is cyclical. We're aware of that. We've had 2 years of growth. We certainly expect it to continue to grow this year. We're expecting it to be an all-time high, in fact, for medium and heavy duty vehicles this year. So yeah, but having said that, we're not influencing the market that much. So our objective is to continue to grow in share, to continue to grow in profitability, and we're able to accomplish that. So we have no real concerns on the market, on the commodity prices. All of that is holding up reasonably well as far as we're concerned.
Right. So safe to say then that you'd outperform the overall CV market for this year, the fiscal that is?
Absolutely, we are outperforming the market. Our market share has already, we always expect to outperform the market, Siddharth. I mean, that's always our objective. I mean, maybe 1 year out of 5 or 7 we don't, but every year we plan to and we expect to beat the market, and we're already way ahead from last year. So we were at a gross level, we were 13% market share last year in 5 ton and above commercial vehicles. This year we're 15.2%, so we've gained over 2% market share already in all of commercial vehicles.
All right, before I let you go, Sid, there was also a lot of talk about how your announcement of the joint venture with Polaris earlier Multics, that is, was seen as extremely tangential, and there wasn't clarity on where that business is going. Would you say that now you have a little more scale and a clearer picture on that?
Yeah, it's a Multics is, again, it's a new category creation, new brand, new company altogether. So a new distribution, which is always sticky. So we've been able to get the relevant customers. There's a lot of interest in the market. We're starting to get better conversions slowly from the large funnel of interested parties that we have. But it takes time. These things are, we would have loved it to be an absolute instant success. However, it's taking time for the market to develop, but we're fine with that because the signals are strong. The customers who are buying our product are extremely happy with the outcome. They're getting benefit in many different ways. So that's what's important for us, and yes, we expect that to continue slowly upwards as well.
All right, Sid, like everybody's been saying, of course, it's looking like a healthy monsoon, and I have to then ask you, going forward, what's your revised outlook for this fiscal?
Well, outlook for the year is we keep our head down and we keep at it, and we do what we've set out to do, which is on transforming Royal Enfield into a new organization in terms of product and systems, and there's a lot of internal work going on in order to set ourselves up for our next phase of growth, which is becoming a global player. So as we speak, we've already set out that our production target for this year is 675,000 units, which is a huge growth over last year. So if we're able to accomplish that production and sales commensurately, and even maintain the type of profitability that we've been having, which has been much higher than we'd expected ourselves, we're delighted.
So on a personal note then, Sid, if I had to ask you this, 5 years ago, you would probably not have dreamed that the motorcycle business was contributing this way to the overall Eicher Motors numbers. I mean, what is it, 89 to 90% of the quarter's profits come from Royal Enfield?
Absolutely not. No, that was certainly not our expectation. And percentages don't matter really at the end of the day. I mean, we're delighted if the percentage comes down because of great profitability in trucks. So, as long as both are growing well, we're happy.
All right, Siddhartha Lal, thank you for speaking to us. Really appreciate your time, and looks like it's going to be an interesting year in terms of numbers coming from Eicher Motors, perhaps right through this fiscal.
Thanks so much, Siddharth. Thank you.